You won't believe what's happening at grocery stores. What's going on, folks? Can you believe what's going on in Kroger? They have just issued a major produce warning, and some of the locations are facing serious availability issues with their produce items. Now, if you've stepped into your local Kroger and noticed a shortage of fresh produce, we need to hear from you guys. Drop me a quick comment down below or shoot me an email. Let me know what kind of issues you're seeing in terms of produce availability in your local Kroger. We need to know if it's happening to everybody or just a few Kroger locations. Now, it may be connected to the oil shortages that we're hearing about. Here, check this out.
But we are getting closer to that summer driving season. You think that there's a point where the immediate demand picture starts to take over?
I mean, again, I think that once you can get past recessionary and rate hike concerns, oil will struggle in the sort of macro wall of worry scenario. But if those fears start to recede, I do think there'll be a greater emphasis on the fundamentals, a greater emphasis on, what we're seeing in countries like India, where demand has been really strong. China may have been more muted than anticipated, but Chinese demand is growing. We are heading into summer driving season. And again, these very important OPEC cuts will start to take effect. And I think also there are these other supply stories that we haven't necessarily been focusing on, which could become more material. For example, there's a very significant Iraqi pipeline, 475,000 barrels a day, taking crude from the north to Turkey. That has been down for several weeks. So I do think as we get into summer, these supply stories will start to take impact.
You heard that right, guys. We need to brace ourselves for yet another hike on gas prices. Remember last year, right? Yeah, that was pretty rough. Anyway, we need to talk about the bigger picture here. When it comes to the food industry, consolidation is just wreaking havoc and it's driving up prices, and us consumers, we need to be sharp with our strategies. But over the past few decades, we've been witnessing a pretty huge jump in consolidation in the food sector, where fewer and fewer suppliers are calling the shots. And you know what that means, right? Higher prices for all of us. And hold on tight, guys, because there's even more shaken up in the grocery landscape. Two of the giants in the American supermarket scene are about to join forces. Kroger just dropped a bombshell that they're going to be acquiring Albertsons in this colossal deal worth nearly $25 billion. Now, this move has the potential to completely change the retail industry right here in the United States and impact how millions of customers are getting their groceries. Brace yourselves, folks, because as these grocery stores are getting bigger and bigger, small farms are getting squeezed out. Now, speaking of consolidation, let's talk about meatpacking. Now, the American meatpacking industry, there's like 4 major corporations that are calling the shots. Now, we got Tyson Foods, Cargill, and 2 owned by Brazilian corporations, National Beef Packing Company and JBS. Now, back in 1977, they only held 25% of the market. Now, if we fast forward to today, after a series of mergers, these big 4, they now have a staggering 85% control over all meat packing here in America. It's a $67 billion industry. You do the math. And the control is concentrated in just a few hands. Yeah, that can't be good, right, guys? And hey, we got updates pouring in from viewers all over the nation and the world. And it's not just the produce, folks. People are experiencing shortages of meat and other essentials too. It's a very challenging time right now, and I'm here with this video to shed light on the situation. So buckle up, because in this video, we're going to be deep diving into the world of industry consolidation, rising food prices, debt consolidation, and of course, the ongoing shortages that are affecting all of us. So stay tuned for the expert insights and strategies to be able to navigate these uncertain times, and also to be able to safeguard your financial freedom. You guys know I got your back. All right, let's go ahead and get started. All right, so first off, Kroger has issued a major produce warning. Some locations are experiencing issues with the availability of produce items. Now, if you've noticed a shortage of produce at your local Kroger, please, by all means, let me know down in the comments down below. Now, speaking of, here are some recent comments that I picked up from one of our previous vids. So Harry Y8if says, "You would not believe how much meat gets thrown away because of shelf life. And people aren't buying everything in store stocks. There's an overabundance that goes bad. US governments pay for what stores throw away." I saw a headline about France recently. It said that large grocery stores have been banned from throwing away unsold food that could be donated to charities. Now, they must have some kind of systems in place to donate that food, right? But what do you guys think about that? And another one, this time from Drew Peterson 2039. "There is no meat food shortage up here in northern Minnesota. Maybe because almost everybody has their freezers full of wild game like venison, grouse, pheasant, wally, and northern pike, crappies, etc. Wow, anybody here have these wild game in their freezers? Let me know in the comment section down below. And last but not least, we got K Vernon 8571. "It's not just cows, it's chicken, eggs, milk from cows. cheese, butter, anything that's a dairy, and most proteins. I will tell all of my world, please plan soon. Yeah, it is definitely getting rough in a lot of places. So I remember somebody telling me that in some grocery stores, they were rationing their deliveries so that they would have enough produce for each day of the week. So if you see something out of stock, it may be in the back for the next day. The stuff these stores do now, right? So yeah, let's help one another out, guys. Keep those local updates coming. Just start your comment with the word update in all caps so I can easily spot you guys in the comment section, all right? And hey, if mainstream media won't cover this, we will right here in our Financial Freedom fam, all right? Now, let's go ahead and talk about the situation in Texas. So the state is currently facing a heat wave leading to record power usage. To cope with this increased demand for air conditioning, authorities have been urging residents to conserve power. Now, they haven't cut the power yet, but the strain on the power grid is definitely becoming a concern. There's also news from UPS Teamsters. Now, I heard from one of them saying that they don't yet have plans to go on strike. The vote is just a bargaining chip, but a big but, if they vote again, then worry. Definitely scary if the whole delivery network just goes dark on us, right? Then again, some people are theorizing that what's happening right here in the US today has been rehearsed in South America in the 70s. And according to them, it's all going by the book. Could all of this been planned from the get-go? What do you think, guys? Now, one thing I'm pretty sure of, industry consolidation is leading to higher food prices. The United Nations reports food commodity prices dropped in May, down 25% since its record high in March of last year. But the question is, do you guys feel that on our grocery store shelves? Although the world price of grains like wheat, barley, and oats are dropping, food experts say that it takes months to see that in the grocery store. In part, that's because both food manufacturers and grocery stores have hiked prices to make record profits. Now, according to one professor, quote, "We're seeing higher profits for the major, particularly for the food retailers and food processors. We have seen consolidation in the food sector quite dramatically over the last decades, where there are fewer and fewer suppliers," end quote. Fewer meat processors and food manufacturers means higher prices, and at the same time, we're seeing fewer and fewer grocery store chains as well. So it ain't just inflation, guys. Quote, "We see more than 60% of America's grocery sales concentrated in just 5 companies," end quote. And when so few companies have so much control over the supply chain, they can kind of charge whatever they want, end quote. Food prices went up 7% last month. So as usual, it's the American consumers that are having to adjust. Now, basically, people are just buying fewer products. I guess this is forcing America to lose weight. But let me know if you guys can relate in this quote here. Quote, "Even though we're spending more, we're putting fewer items in our shopping basket overall." They go on to say about 90% of Americans are cutting back on their grocery expenses, end quote. That's one way to send a message. Another is to buy generic store brands, buy locally grown produce, stop buying prepared foods, stick to a shopping list, and look for lower prices. And did you hear about Kroger buying out Albertsons? It's a nearly $25 billion deal that could change the U.S. retail industry and also impact how millions of customers are buying their groceries. The deal, which is expected to close in 2024, would combine 2 of the largest supermarket chains in the country and create one of the largest private employers. The 2 companies have a combined 710,000 workers, most of them unionized in an industry with low union rates, nearly 5,000 stores, and more than $200 billion in sales. The companies say they reach 85 million households. Consumer watchdogs, unions, and Democrats have already come out strongly against the deal. They say that it would harm consumers by raising prices and driving out competition. Now, it could also spur a wave of consolidation in the industry among smaller companies attempting to compete. Senator Bernie Sanders called it an absolute disaster and called on the Biden administration to reject the deal. The American Economics Liberty Project, an anti-monopoly organization, said the merger would be disastrous for market competition, small businesses, and especially consumers' pockets, end quote. See, as grocery stores get bigger, small farms get squeezed out. According to a new report from the U.S. Department of Agriculture's Economic Research Service, over the last 3 decades, consolidation in food retail has increased significantly at the national, state, metro area, and county levels. And in the past 10 years, the market share of the 4 largest supermarket chains has increased significantly. Now, depending upon the region that measure was used, the 4 biggest chains, you got Walmart, Kroger, Costco, Albertsons, they now control between 43 and 69% of sales. Walmart in particular, they're capturing 1 out of every 3 grocery dollars that are spent right here in the United States by some measures. Pretty much the same story in the meatpacking industry. There are 4 major corporations in the American meatpacking industry. You got Tyson Foods, Cargill, and 2 that are owned by Brazilian corporations, National Beef Packing Company and JBS. Now, in 1977, the Big Four, as they're commonly called, they owned just 25% of the market. Many mergers later, the Big Four now control 85% of all meat packing in America. Cattle beef are a $67 billion industry in the United States. Cattle ranchers used to receive 62 cents for every consumer dollar that was spent on beef. But today, that has dropped to less than 37 cents on a dollar. Meanwhile, the Big Four have tripled profits in the past 2 years alone. Now, while these monster companies are just raking in the profits, here's what's happening to our local farmers. We wait for a middleman to come and say, okay, I'm going to give you such and such price for your calves. It's not like we get to set the price. We're given a price and we have to stick to it or leave it. It's stressful because we know how much we have to make on a calf. But we also, because of where we live in the wintertime, we could also say, okay, we can't get a good enough price. We'll just keep them and we'll sell them. Next year, we'll sell them as yearlings. But then we have all these costs of feeding them throughout the winter, and who knows if the market's going to be any better the next year. We're really trapped in this system. We don't have any other place to go. That's the other thing that I think a lot of people don't understand. We don't have another market to go to. That's what happens with consolidation. Now, as another farmer put it, there's this huge amount of wealth that's being extracted from the cattle that we're raising, and they're kind of being stolen from us. And what if that doesn't happen? What if the Big Four meat packers further consolidate into the Big Three or two or one? We're not going to have the kind of ranching that we know now. And if we don't change things, we're just not going to be having these ranches. And that's such a huge cost to all of us in this country. From produce shortages to rising food prices and industry consolidation, it is impacting all of us. Now, I've heard you guys' experiences and your concerns from viewers across the nation and across the world. And it's why we need to stick together right here on the Financial Freedom Channel. And it's crucial that we support one another during these uncertain times. Your updates and engagement in the comment section are definitely vital here. Remember, guys, mainstream media may not be covering these issues, so we got to shed some light on them here. Consolidation in the industry and the control of meatpacking sector by just a few corporations are driving up prices and they're hurting small farms. So let's hopefully get a conversation going about the fair prices and making farming more sustainable again for the average American. We all need to stay informed, support local farmers, and make conscious choices as consumers. It may not be much, but we can all definitely do our part. Share this video to get more information out to more people. This is a serious concern, guys. The share button's right there. And while you're over there, I definitely would not mind you guys hitting the like button either. Always subscribe to the channel for your daily dose of the truth. Appreciate you guys watching, and I will catch you on the next one.